that. And he was able to hold space for you to do that. And then at the same time, share that there might be better ways of expressing this than what you did. Yeah.
Yes.
I've learned, like, one of the things I'm the most wary of is being in a relationship where things are being withheld or suppressed. And because I've been bitten by that so many times where I didn't know that there was something bothering someone else until it became something way bigger than it ever really was. And then it just creates so many problems. And so that was one of my things that I'm looking for if I find a partner, is like somebody who can. Emerge Stories is a place where, as the name implies, you are going to hear stories. Stories from people all over the Philippines who have come from many different types of backgrounds, and especially people who have gone through struggles, people who have gone through the challenging parts of life. And I hope that these stories will relate for you in some way, that some of these stories will really land for you, because these people have gone through probably just about the same thing you might be going through right now.
Hey, I'm Bobby Weiss, and I'm here with Eli and Gladys. And I've known Eli and Gladys pretty much since they moved to Dumaguete. So it's been almost 6 months now?
Something like that, I think.
Yeah. And they've become good friends in the meantime. And I'm really supportive of what they're doing with EmergePH. And in getting to know them, I really have come to appreciate the level of consciousness that they bring to relationship. And so a week or two ago, I suggested that maybe as an interesting complement to the EmergePH content, then it might be fascinating to talk about the conscious relationship that they've developed and ideas that they have incorporated in their own relationship and that they might recommend for others to incorporate in a conscious relationship where self-development is really an important aspect of the relationship.
Thank you for the idea.
Yeah. So now, Eli and Gladys, how long have you been a couple?
I just counted it earlier. And it's been 1 year and 7 months. Will be 1 year and 8 months on September 1.
Okay. So how did you meet? And where did you meet?
You can answer first.
Maybe you want to tell us if you have a preference of who should answer, then can direct your questions. That way we know we don't keep staring at each other and wonder who's going to answer.
Okay.
No, it's fine. It's one option. Otherwise, you just have to wait for us to stare at each other. Yeah, we met on Tinder. According to Gladys, I don't have record or memory of this exactly, but she says we connected we matched in April 2021, as the pandemic was allowing some freedom or not, depending on how you looked at it. I think in April 2021, just after we matched, we were chatting, and she says that we committed to meeting for coffee on a specific day or something like that, which is super rare for me to make a commitment and then not see it through. But apparently I went to CDO for my motorcycle that month and must have just spaced out or something. So we never actually met in April. And then later in the year,
she still talked to you after that?
We didn't. We never really did, actually. And so then in September, during the time that I was actually spending a month living with someone who we were doing this test, was like, what would happen if we just date, if we live together for 1 month, but after 1 month, we have to stop and reevaluate and see what happens. And this girl that I was dating for just that 1 month, she agreed to it. And so we were actually living together. And Gladys reconnected with me over Facebook because Facebook owns WhatsApp, and she had my number in her phone. So Facebook was recommending me to her. She saw something, I don't know why, she decided to add me. Maybe I looked familiar. And then according to her, she saw that I was posting my podcast, which is called Products with Purpose. And the idea of purpose, finding purpose, was what caught her attention. She connected with me, started talking, and I just found her to be a very engaging conversationalist. Most people don't put a lot of energy into the messages they send, and she would really send thoughtful, longer messages and got my attention, was asking good questions. We ended up getting coffee. So that's the kind of how we met from my angle.
Okay. So you met for coffee. And so the source of initial attraction was really kind of Gladys seeing something in your posting of products with purpose type stuff that appealed to her. Gladys, say more about that?
Yeah. And I think it was a perfect timing that it's a good thing that we didn't meet on the initial time that we matched in Tinder during way back in April 2021. Because during that time, I don't think I will be ready to actually be in a relationship. Like during that time, I was just focused on, I want to make myself better. I want to grow myself. And I just want to connect with people without necessarily having an agenda. And I wasn't using Facebook for over 2 years. And on September, when I decided, okay, this time want to engage with people more and I'm going to filter the people that I'm adding in Facebook. I'm only going to connect with people that I can see that would bring more value into my life or people that would be inspiring for me and that I can learn from. And that's when I saw Eli's profile and he looks familiar because it was my first time using Google Calendar. Because again, when we matched in Tinder, we decided to have coffee and he told me that he was in CDO. He's not in Cebu, but as soon as he's back in Cebu, we will meet. So I thought of, okay, let me put it in my calendar because I might forget. We didn't really reconnect until that. And I was like, this guy is actually interesting. He's doing a lot of like impactful thing that is very rare for me to see here in the Philippines. And the fact that he's a foreigner and living in the Philippines, yet doing those kind of purposeful act, I'm curious and I want to get to know more. So I didn't hesitate to be the one to initiate the conversation and send a message. And I'm glad that when I asked for a first meetup, we agreed, but then he bailed again. We didn't meet again. I was like, it's happening.
Something really came up. Like I had to change it, and I usually don't change appointments, but yeah, a second time. It's really weird. That's so rare for me, really.
So was he a no-show or was he like, did he say like at the last minute, no, I can't make it today?
I'm not sure if it's last minute, but yeah, he decided to reschedule it for like next week.
Okay.
And
Okay.
which,
And
yeah,
so by
good
now
thing.
you're probably having questions about this guy, right?
Good thing during that time, since I don't have an agenda of will this be a potential partner material or what, I am just curious to get to know the person more and who is this person and what is actually the purpose that he's trying to do. So despite of all the rescheduling, I was still interested. I still
Ah,
keep the engagement going.
okay. Okay. And
Pretty-
so,
It's pretty funny, I have to just say, because I'm usually the person who is proactively scheduling things, and it's just so far, come on, I rescheduled. That's not like being a no-show. But the no-show thing in April, I still can't believe I did that. But she put something on her calendar and I didn't. What? I don't understand. But anyway, I think it was just the way it was supposed to be. Another interesting side point, I had just started that podcast, like, I think that month. It was brand new. So why did I come up with that name? Anyway, I guess if I hadn't come up with that name and launched that podcast, I would never know Gladys. This is really interesting to think about. Anyway.
yeah. Yeah. So you had coffee, and was there an attraction at first, or was it just more let's get to know each other kind of a thing, or how did that go?
There's definitely an attraction. Like for me, I'm attracted to guys who are tall. And I think I saw him walking to the restaurant first, or I was like behind him and I saw him. I was like, this guy is good build, tall, and in good shape. So I was already interested. Physical attraction was there.
Uh-huh. Okay.
How about
Okay.
you?
I
And
honestly
so,
don't remember, but based on the next meeting, I think the physical attraction must have been there,
uh-huh.
because the next meeting was like we spent the weekend together. So I think, yeah, I must have. I don't specifically remember how I felt attraction wise, but I'm pretty sure the chemistry's always been there.
Yeah, good. So now at some point along the line in your dating, you decided that you wanted to go deeper together. Yeah, you wanted to engage in a relationship and at some point, I don't know, exclusive relationship.
So what was going on then? A little bit of context. 2021 was this 1 year that I was totally single, and like single for the pretty much exactly the 1 year. and I was meeting a lot of amazing people. And I'm weird. I do things always unorthodox and break rules and do things other people wouldn't do. But as I meet these very interesting women in Cebu, handful of really amazing people, I can't help but connect them to each other. I'm not going to like keep this amazing person from knowing this amazing person because I happen to meet them dating. So I was just inviting people over to my house, hang out, whatever. And Gladys and I, neither of us were in the mode of really looking for a partner. I think we were both just individually, we had already decided separately that not in a hurry. I had gotten really specific about what I would be looking for if I happened to find somebody that I thought would be a good partner material. I don't want to miss that opportunity if I happen to find. So of course I'm paying attention. I'm spending time with people that I really see a lot of those things that I'm looking for in people in them. Anyway, so Gladys was coming over and hanging out with people that I knew. And I think I'll let you tell this part a little bit about what you felt about that circle.
Yeah. So I think for 4 months, Eli and I were seeing each other. He's inviting me to his place. He likes to organize gathering at his house in Maria Luisa. And the first time that I went to his house, there's a group gathering. And I know that one of the girls there is actually the girl that he had this 1 month setup thing. And instead of feeling nervous or back out, that feeling was there, but I was more curious. Because anyway, I'm not here for a relationship. And I'm just curious, like, how could a woman be still there and okay and cool with it just to have that 1 month set up? And if that 1 month setup didn't work out, they're still friends, they're still hanging out together. So I was very curious. And when I first connected with those group of people, I was really amazed that they're very open-minded and driven and just positive. You cannot hear any gossiping. It's just uplifting with each other. And I get inspired. And after 4 months of just being around that circle, meeting girls, even though I know that those girls he used to meet or date with, it wasn't weird for me because the girls that he's introducing to me, they're amazing. And I was telling myself, like, wow, I must be amazing too, because I'm already in this circle. Like my confidence actually went higher.
For the record, they weren't all girls, just for the record. But anyway.
Yeah, there are.
Yeah.
But yeah, the group setting were not just girls, but it's like his workers, like employees were there. And when he started asking me, I think it was November of 2021, he asked me about like, why don't we try the getting more serious, getting deeper? You can't really know the person well enough unless you spend enough time with them. So why don't we try the 1 month thing? And I was like, that's interesting. But wait, if I try this 1 month thing and we will be exclusive together, does that mean I will be jealous of the girls coming to your place? And I don't really want to feel that because those girls are amazing and I want to continue being friends with them. So I didn't necessarily say no, but I also didn't say yes. I was just smiling every time that he would ask that. And he asked that 3 times and I was just smiling.
Okay, I'll go back to the story now. So I don't remember specifically saying 1 month. Did I say that? I don't think so. I don't know. Maybe I did, but I don't think so. Because what I remember is I had this list of things I was looking for if I found somebody, right? And there were like 13 things on the list. And I was just, I don't know, one day I was just thinking about the women that I had met and who I think were pretty amazing and just looking at which tick boxes people ticked. And Gladys ticked a lot of them, maybe more than anyone. There's one that said, does not have young kids. And she didn't tick that. But anyway, there's a couple that you can't know unless you really spend time. Like you have to live with somebody for a period of time before you would really know about some of them. And I think I said something like, you're basically the only person I know right now who I would really like to see what it would be like if we spent more time together. I don't think I said 1 month, but I didn't understand exactly why she didn't say yes. I wasn't really worried about it, but then I think I did mention it again. Still no real didn't really take me up on it. But then it was actually Odette, the typhoon, December 16, 2021, that just destroyed Cebu. She was at work in IT Park my house was pretty nearby. She's very familiar with going there. It's like a place she's always invited, just like a lot of my friends. And she ended up back there after the storm. Once she could get anywhere, she went there because she couldn't get back to Lapu-Lapu where her kids were, because the bridge was just like, you couldn't get anywhere. So she ended up staying at my house for a couple of days, and there was a few other friends there in and out. And there was this one night where we finally figured out all the basics to stay alive. We had enough food, we had enough water, we had some fuel, and then there's nothing else to do because there's no power, there's no internet. And so we're like, what do we do? Just like, I don't know, it's dark and we're bored. And so we started doing drinking games. And it was the first time I saw we're doing Never Have I Ever and Truth or Dare with Gladys and these two other girls and another guy. And it's the first time I ever saw her really drink and get a little tipsy, more than tipsy. And I saw her kind of giving advice to this other girl about relationships and stuff. And I was like, what the hell? Who is this person? She got real loose tongue. And I was very surprised at the things that were coming out of her mouth. But it showed me a side of her she hadn't been displaying, like a more real and raw kind of side of her. And I ended up, I'll turn it back to you, Bobby, for questions, but I just got to wrap this up by saying, I decided to go to Manila to get away from the chaos of Cebu so I could actually work and think, because I think I went Christmas Day to New Year's Day, basically just that 1 week. But just before I left, I had to try again. And I invited her for coffee. And for a third time, with much more seriousness, this time I said something like, if you could define the most ideal relationship for you right now, I think I reminded her, I said, look, I don't know for sure, but I think it's just important that we spend enough time together to see what would happen, because I just keep seeing things in you that I just don't see in people. And so I said, if you could define the most ideal relationship for you right now, what would it be? And then she said,
As I was thinking of that question, I thought I really like all the girls that I met through Eli. They're amazing and they're beautiful people. And I'm afraid that if we're in a relationship, there would this jealousy that would kick in. And I don't want that to happen. So I just decided, okay, let's keep it open. I can have that idea. Like if those girls will be around us, I would be okay with it, because I don't want that to not be okay, because I want to hang out with those people too. They're amazing. I want to learn from them. I want to surround with people just like them. That was the kind of
I thought it was because you wanted to keep meeting other guys.
no.
Really? I didn't. I just learned something new. Okay.
I expected that might happen. In this conversation, you discover something new about each other.
Never told me her motive there.
So that third time that you asked, which was before you went to Manila, yeah?
Somewhere between
and-
the 16th and the 24th. So maybe 20th of December-ish, something like that.
Yeah. And so did you exceed at that point? Gladys, did you say, okay, let's try it?
Yeah. So I just told him, okay, let's try it for a month, but let's keep it open. Let's keep in touch with the people that we were actually already connected with. Because the idea of relationship, at least in my head, for the people here in the Philippines, is that when you're already in a relationship with someone, you're not supposed to talk to the people that you match online. And for me, it just doesn't sit right, because I've already built relationship with those people, friendship with those people. And I know that it's the same thing for him. So I don't want that to, just because we're trying this relationship together.
So that was a condition of your decision to try it. And so that you were essentially agreeing to move into Eli's place.
Yes.
Now, what about your kids?
I have a place in Lapu-Lapu at the time, and Eli's in Cebu. So there's 1 hour away. And I decided, okay, for me personally, I don't want to bring my kids in the situation right away, because we're still in a stage of trying to get to know each other. And for me, if I was thinking at the back of my head, I will only bring the kids in when I'm already sure. So
Sure.
for that 1 month, I'm just going back to Lapu-Lapu and spend like the weekend and then coming back to Eli's place. So that's how it looks like.
And you were still working nearby in the IT park?
That time I stopped working and I basically Eli is doing an advisory for a company, and I took over the process of what do you call that? Like
It's
lead
like lead
generation.
generation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lead
She
generation.
started
Okay.
doing some work with me to help me with a project I was basically not keeping up with
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So this is before you moved in together
at the same time.
at the same time.
I don't remember.
Did you find any conflicts with that? It's okay, we're going to become closer as lovers, and yet you're doing some work for me as well.
It was very challenging for me because, especially at first, because I don't know the job. The first few days, I was confused of what to do. And at the same time, I'm also hesitant to ask him what I should do because I don't want him to think that maybe I'm dumb. I'm not able to figure it out. So I
Uh-huh.
was really having a hard time communicating, expressing what's the challenge for me because I have all this narrative that's stopping me. But eventually, when we had a conversation and when he gave me feedback, that was the first time that I cried so much because I feel bad, but at the same time, I was also telling him like, just allow me to cry, but also don't be afraid because I want to learn this job. I want to get better at it. And it also made me realize, wow, there are other Filipinos who just quit the job because they're given feedback though, and I don't want to be that person. I want to accept this feedback as a challenge for me
Mhm.
to learn, but still allow me to just cry it out, cry my frustration. And after that, I felt really good and competent with what I'm doing. So I get excited. Like the work that I was doing for 5, 6 hours, I can just do it in 2 hours. So that kind of setup already felt good for me. It eventually reached a point where it's just okay.
Okay. All right. So this is over what period of time? Over a couple of weeks after you moved in, or a couple of months, or a
A few months, I think. Yeah, a few months.
few months? Okay.
Yeah. But the first few months were pretty crazy because a lot of crazy stuff happening. The house that I was in before the storm got really damaged, and I ended up leaving the lease. I like exited the lease early because the owner wanted to remodel the place anyway. And so ended up moving from a pretty big house, like a really big house actually, to a pretty tight townhouse. And that was like the second week of January. So we actually officially started as soon as I got back from Manila. We started dating, or we started like living together, and then within 2 weeks we're moving. So she's going through a move with me right in the beginning. Plus, when I came back from Manila, I was really sick. I got COVID, I think, at a dance club in Manila, and I came back and I was really sick. And it took me, I think, for weeks. I actually wasn't feeling very good. So it was a rocky beginning. But I would also mention, just for some curious, interesting stuff, we didn't stop meeting new people. Maybe we're just too busy in the beginning. Maybe the first month we didn't, but I'd say by February, we both, because we still had these conversations going with people that we'd been matching with on dating apps and stuff, we both were occasionally going out and meeting with other people, and we weren't really comfortable telling each other anything about it. So in the beginning, it was just like, all right, I'm going out. And then it was technically fine according to the relationship, right? But we were just totally not comfortable talking about it in the beginning.
Sure.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. But there were some crazy experiences in the first 2 months. Yeah. Anyway, so
Yeah.
I'll let you guide the conversation now.
Yeah. Good. Okay. So at some point, when did the concept for Emerge PH come up, and how did the two of you, were you brainstorming together, or was that solely your kind of social invention, Eli?
Going back to 2015, when I first commissioned the logo for Emerge, it wasn't EmergePH then, it was just called Emerge. I remember in those first couple of years that I lived in the Philippines, I kept feeling this, I felt compelled to help people. I felt like I could maybe be somehow contribute to, I wanted to help people grow. Like I was meeting so many people here that I felt I saw a lot of potential in. And basically just the seeds of the concept were all the way back to 2015. And it's been something I've been thinking about and talking about for basically forever, ever since then. There was something semi-connected that I had been doing also several years back that we were informally calling Scale U, which was just getting together on Saturday mornings to review. I used to choose a YouTube video that was on a topic that I thought was really interesting, that could teach us things. And then a small group of people would get together on Saturday mornings at a coffee shop, and we would discuss it. And Gladys actually picked that up and started doing that in 2022, maybe June, July in Cebu. And she just did it really well and got amazing people together. And it's built steam over that 6 to 8 months until the end of 2022. But yeah, it was really, I think, Gladys hearing me talk about the vision for what I had always wanted to do with Emerge. But it was really her that said, and I guess I'll let you answer the rest of that.
Yeah, like when I move in with Eli, and now that I already quit my 9 to 5 job and did this like a VA thing for him, I had a lot of free time to do things. And at first I thought, okay, we're moving together. So maybe I'm going to be the domestic partner
The trophy girlfriend. I just say it.
to clean the house, like wash dishes. But then he was telling me, I much rather see you reading a book than washing dishes. You can make yourself more valuable than just being a cleaner. And I thought, oh, that's pretty interesting. So I really took that offer and really dive into reading books, listening to podcasts. And every day I just get very excited. And during that relationship period that we had together, like every morning, the coffee time, first 2 months, I felt very nervous to wake up in the morning because I know that we will have a conversation after watching a YouTube video. And but then after putting a lot of ideas in reading books, I started seeing that morning coffee time as something that I could be excited about because now I have a lot of ideas that I can share to him and I want to hear his perspective or how he see things similarly or different from mine. And I get so excited with that. And I had this feeling of, wow, I want to share this to people. And first, I wanted to share it with my family member, but none of them were interested. I don't want to be lectured or I don't want to learn something new. I'm done with school. Then I reached out to my schoolmate, like high school batchmate, and wanted to create like a virtual online meeting, but no one showed up. And so I like confined to Eli. I felt so down right now. Like I have this excitement and passion of sharing the things that I'm learning, but no one seems to be interested. So he told me, like, you can't really force everyone to learn. Why don't you attract or invite people who's already in that journey? And I thought those people that you introduced me before in your circle, they actually seem very amazing people. And I think they would be interested in this. And so I reached out to them and I was so surprised. I got yes from those people. And then we started Scale You. And then it just flourished from there. After our trip to Vietnam, November of last
Yeah,
2022,
last year.
we dropped by at Manila and he had this meeting at the Draper Start, at this place where there are Draper Startup House. And I was just listening to how these entrepreneurs were talking. They're like sharing their ideas for business. And as I was listening to it, I was like, wow, their ideas are quite messy. And I remember Eli talking about his vision for Emerge. And I feel like his idea of Emerge is there's already a structure to it. We just have to push it forward. And since I already have this passion and drive to create something, after that trip in Vietnam and when we come back in Cebu, I told him like, hey, this vision of Emerge, what should we do to push it forward? What needs to be done? So let's do it.
I got to comment on a couple of things there that are amazing to me. First of all, one of the checklist items that was still an open tick box that I needed to spend enough time with her to find out. There was a couple of them, but one of them was, would this person, if I find a partner, would this person be able to really have super deep conversations with me about topics that I am passionate about? A, and B, can this person consistently bring me new and fresh ideas and things that I haven't thought of yet and like challenge me, bring me new things to think about? And so the process she's describing of waking up in the mornings and having conversations about things that we discovered that was really something we had in common, but that we have this passion for just learning about everything, learning about life and how people work, how we ourselves work, et cetera. And that was when I really started to see that she just genuinely is a deep thinker. She's really wants to go deep, and she loves learning, and she's such a fast learner. And the kind of transformation I watched her do in that 1 year is like 10 years of what I went through. It's just crazy. And I also, looking back on the process of, you get excited. I don't know, Bobby, if you remember this happening with you, but I had the same exact thing as like when I got excited about being on a personal development journey, you just want to bring other people with you, people that you care about. You go to them and you try to bring them with you. You try to coax them and convince them and cajole them into wanting to grow. And you get so frustrated. And it was very cute and adorable to watch her do that with her family and her batchmates and it not work. And of course I knew it wasn't going to work. But the cool thing is I had been specifically for now 7 or 8 years, I finally, why don't I look for people who exhibit signs of caring about personal development? Like they're already getting on that journey or they're already well along the way on that journey. And so I've been doing that for a long time. That's like the number one prerequisite of friends of mine typically is they want to grow. They like to learn. They're open-minded. They like to just grow all the time. And so, of course, my friends were all those people, including you, because that's the first tick box for me. Is growth and learning have to be really core to the people that I.
So it sounds as if there was never a time in which you said, hey, let's partner with EmergePH. It was like, it's only natural to grow this together. Is that accurate?
I would say if you look, when I look back at 2022, we were being in an open relationship was consistently putting us into situations where, not every minute, but pretty frequently putting us into situations where we were really learning about ourselves and having sometimes really bumpy experiences, but having consistently choosing the only way we ended up getting through all that. And sometimes we went in and out. Sometimes a couple months where we're like, nope, let's not see anybody else or meet anybody else or talk to anybody else. Let's just be totally exclusive and then we would go in and out. But anyway, my point in saying that is that I think we proved to each other and to ourselves that we can consistently lean into any scary conversation and talk about things that are just so hard to talk about and get through the most infuriating, triggering, frustrating things with each other. And starting a business with your life partner is probably on the list of stupidest things that people would think, things that people would say never do. But we're also already doing something that most people would say would never work. And when she said, let's start this, I've been an entrepreneur for a long time. I know how difficult it is to be partners with a business partner, much less a life partner. Doing both at the same time has been really tricky. But I don't think we stopped. I think there was a little bit of deliberation, but I knew she was serious, and I already honestly, I've been looking for the right person to start this with for a long time because I knew I wasn't I needed somebody from here. I needed somebody who really cares, who really gets it, who has the right skill set, who understands personal growth and actually really wants to grab it and own it. And I've asked 4 or 5 or 6 people along the way, would you like to do this with me? And people say yes, but then having the guts to take ownership of it and grab it by the reins, I couldn't possibly say no to her wanting to do that because that's the only way it will be birthed is if someone makes it their own. And so I don't think there was too much deliberation.
Yeah. Let's go back to something you said a few minutes ago, because I think this is key to what makes a relationship move forward in difficult times as opposed to separating. And that is those kind of things where you used the term, there were bumpy times. And then you said that there's nothing that we found that we couldn't talk about. But say more about that. That's pretty admirable, it feels to me. Gladys, would you care to start?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's really the core to also why I feel so much better than who I was a year ago because of that constant leaning into scary conversation. Like I grew up not having a voice to really speak out. Like in the family, I'm the youngest of 12, and being the youngest, you just can't express your own opinion because it will be taken as you're disagreeing, you're disrespecting your elders. So being in a relationship with Eli and having to share and express my feeling, and the uncomfortable situation that we're facing was very hard, and it really challenges me. And I'm so glad that I have the space to be able to share it poorly at first, share it in a place of accusing and pointing fingers. And I'm grateful that I have Eli as a partner who's actually have a wide understanding, who just allow me, and even instead of pointing the fingers back to me, he would, like, most of the time he would, like, just even acknowledge, oh, I'm glad that you actually express yourself, even though the way you express it was not good, and was not good, it also
Didn't
hurts
feel
me.
good to him.
Yeah, but it's good that you express yourself, and him continuously, constantly reassuring me that it's safe to talk about things. It's safe to express your feelings. It's safe to share what you're thinking and what your emotions are. That really helps to have that safe space. And eventually, I also learned to, how can I share it better? How can I share it in a way that he would receive it and not have to defend himself? Like, how can we
Mhm.
improve the communication? But
Right, without blaming and shaming.
And
Yeah,
it's
and so Eli really encouraged you to do that. He was able to hold space for you to express yourself, even though maybe at the beginning it wasn't really that graceful, where you were doing some blaming and shaming and like that. And he was able to hold space for you to do that. And then at the same time, share that there might be better ways of expressing this than what you did. Yeah.
yes.
I've learned, like, one of the things I'm the most wary of is being in a relationship where things are being withheld or suppressed. And because I've been bitten by that so many times where
Mm.
I didn't know that there was something bothering someone else until it became something way bigger than it ever really was. And then it just creates so many problems. And so that was one of my things that I'm looking for if I find a partner, is like somebody who can be aware of what she's feeling and express it honestly and openly, and not and to really not withhold things, but to reveal and be in the habit of that. And I think it's been really challenging for her because in Filipino culture, there's so much deference, and she respects me so much, and she has this tendency to look up to me, and I'm constantly working with her to remember to see ourselves as horizontal equals and partners, and not a vertical relationship at all. That's something I really want to stay away from. Yeah. And I would also say that I think core to any amazing relationship is the commitment to learning from everything. If you really learn together about anything, no matter what goes wrong, no matter what goes sideways, no matter how frustrating it is, if both people can be consistently committed as soon as possible to try to figure out what we can learn from this instead of blaming, it gives you it gives you a pretty good opportunity to keep moving forward, even no matter how frustrating some fight can be or whatever. So I think we keep getting better at that. Like, we learn together really well.
Yeah. Gladys, how did you make that transformation from not being able to express yourself into being far more expressive? And it sounds like on an emotional level, that's a pretty big transition, it seems like. What do you think led to that? At first, were you able to speak into your feelings, or did you have those feelings and try to suppress them for the sake of the relationship?
Yeah, first few months, I would say I would even lock myself to the bathroom and not come out because I'm afraid of the conversation, even though I was the one if I feel mad about something and he would start asking me what's the problem, and I'm afraid that if I would share, it would create conflict. And I've been in a relationship where we are constantly fighting with just little
Mhm.
things, and even reach to a you know, physical fight. And I'm so afraid of that. So my way of
Sure.
avoiding it is not to talk, not to have any confrontation at all. And Eli is very persistent in having a conversation. And I noticed myself that the only way for me to really share is when I'm so angry. And I will just have this angry tone of voice. And then I would look at him and he would have a teary eyes. Thank you for sharing what you feel. I just remember one thing and I was like, wow, he is not angry that I'm angry. Like he's even celebrating that I was able to share my feeling. Like
Mhm.
that for me was something intriguing and also moving to be able to have someone who just accept me and who listen to me, who acknowledge me. And I also had some realization, you know what? I actually don't want to express myself. I don't want to withhold myself. It's choking me not to say anything, not to express my feelings. So I started listening to podcasts like how to express your, and I think I would give a lot of credit to the podcast and the book that I've been listening into because now I have tools on how I can express myself. Without those tools, I wouldn't improve myself. So really, when I start noticing, first is having that safe space that it's actually okay. And second is, okay, now I want to be better in expressing myself. And therefore, I need to learn it and acquire tools from books, podcasts, and it's all available and it's free. So
Would you be open to putting some of those books and podcasts in the show notes to this
yeah,
so that others
definitely.
can maybe listen in or read about?
Yeah, one
So
thing, the Life Coach School podcast, I've listened from episode 1 to now 480.
You
wow,
listen to all of them?
Yeah,
480?
480 episodes.
wow,
I've been listening.
that's some serious study there.
Very good podcast. Super good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So really, it was a two-way thing. It was you wanting, after you realized that Eli provided the kind of safe space for you to express yourself. You had this really desire to learn to express yourself more effectively, more efficiently, and with less condescension about it.
I want to just add in a little bit that just for, in case anybody listening might get the wrong impression, there have been plenty of times where she did trigger me because like I got frustrated that she seemed too committed to the anger thing or too committed to the blame thing for too long. And I just ran out of, and then I started getting triggered back. And we've definitely escalated things multiple times where it got pretty heated. And it still happens sometimes where we really trigger each other. And I don't think I'm always that good of a listener. There's times when she's expressed to me, you didn't make me feel the way I wanted to feel. You didn't make me feel heard. You just try to jump in and solve my problem. So even though I know how to hold space, doesn't mean I always do it perfectly. So it's just we're always learning. And you've got to,
Thank you. You're not Saint Eli after all.
no. And like I think part of it is like being committed to learning from situations and not seeing them as failures. It's just data. It's okay. That didn't go the way we wanted it to. So let's forgive ourselves individually and each other as quickly as possible and just look for what we can learn. And I think it's really critical to give yourself and give your partner space to just like mess up, because that's how we learn. Like it's data and you just have to be okay with it instead of resenting or criticizing yourself for it.
So I hear this common theme into the little conversation we've had here in the last 5 minutes or so, which is like learning and growing individually and how that affects the relationship as you're doing your individual growth, how that inspires deeper conversations and, what should I say, quicker resolutions to issues that you just disagree on or misunderstanding or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to be quite triggerable. I remember years ago, I would get angry and I'd stay angry. I'm really weird now. I don't get angry that easily, but when I do, but then it's 10 seconds. And I think it annoys her sometimes because I'll be pretty pissed off for 30 seconds, but then I forgive myself quickly. I know how to do that now. And I just let things go really fast. And I just recenter on, this is not where I want to go. I don't want to be acting like this. And I can flip really quick these days. And but I'm watching her go through that. She's getting way faster at just realizing, yeah, it's fine. Like we just do this sometimes and doesn't mean anything. We just need to.
She's now holding space for you to be triggered and to be angry in that. And it's like all of you is welcome here.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would say I'm not sure I really realized it in those words, but yeah, there was something yesterday where I was pretty surprised that she didn't get triggered by how I treated her. I was like really sure it was going to set her off, and she did hold space. So yeah, I think that's true.
Does that feel, I used a little expression there that is from my background, all of you is welcome here. Is that kind of feels as if it describes what you have been expressing here, that it's like, it's okay. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be, your tears are good. Your anger is good. This space is big enough. This container is big enough to hold all of that. Yeah.
Yes, that's the thing that I personally have been working really hard. Let's say during my period days, I just notice how I get so angry and triggerable. And for few times, Eli was just telling me, like, just allow yourself, just admit that there are times in the months that you are more triggerable than other times. And for in the past, I don't want to admit that because I don't want to give myself an excuse to be
Mm,
angry. I don't want to
mm.
give myself an excuse to be triggered. So I've been very hard on myself. But this time, part of me was like looking forward. Okay, I'm looking forward to my period because I want to test if I will just allow myself and be like already acknowledge that, okay, I will be more triggerable this time. I will be more angry and I'll just observe myself, but not judge. Like accepting that, it just, I think, and based on his feedback and observation, it seems to be getting better. And I also got more aware of my body. I just noticed how I feel warm all the time. And I
Uh-huh.
can now notice when just simple word triggers me, but then I pause and ask myself, do I get triggered by this when I'm not on my period? And if I remember, not really. It's like, that's interesting. Okay, let me not
Mm,
react to that feeling
mm,
and just
mm.
observe that and let it be. And it's really working.
So I want to comment on this if I can, real quick.
Yeah.
I don't have a belief that all women are necessarily any different during their period. And I'm not trying to prove that. But I noticed a pattern with her where she's usually pretty happy and I know her patterns and then there's this, and I didn't say anything until I was pretty sure. I'd seen it enough times. I'm like, okay, we keep getting into stupid fights like around this time of the month. And I could see that she didn't believe it. But this month where she's decided to, what she's telling her side of the story from my perspective, huge difference from the last 4 or 5 months. Wow, I can't believe the difference when she just decided to stop denying it.
So you had this conversation with her. It was like, hey, look, there's a certain time of month when you get really aggressive or unreasonable.
I don't
And
think I said it that way.
okay,
Anyway,
I'm rephrasing,
yeah.
but were you able to hear that or did you reject that, Gladys?
I think the last time that he said it, we just had a big fight and I was very resistant. And then he just left the house and I was left alone in the house and I reflect on it. At first I was resistant, but then when I had the house for myself, I was able to reflect and maybe it's true. But let me test it and see if it's really true. And this is
Uh,
the test. This one. And yeah.
so what I hear, the term that comes to mind for me about what you did this time was you surrendered to reality, right? And sometimes when we surrender to reality, this is what is, and I'm just going to surrender to it. And suddenly the charge of the situation is reduced by when we surrender to it rather than continue to deny it. Does that feel like another way of expressing what you just said?
I love that you said the word surrender, Bobby, because that's like for my birthday, for my 27th birthday, I really made this intention of I want to continue my life by letting go and surrendering more. And I wouldn't see it as an act of surrender, but yeah, you're right. This is actually me surrendering to, okay, this is the reality. This is what's happening. I'm not going to resist it. I'm just going to let go and allow myself. And wow, the beauty of that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think we were talking the other day about David Hockland, Eli, and I forget the name of the book that you read. Is it Letting Go? Is that the name of the book?
Yeah. Yep. That's the one I read from him.
Yeah, which is all about surrendering to reality. And then there's another author that comes to mind that's really good with this, Loving What Is by Byron Katie, which is
Yes.
another, it's like her expression is all human suffering comes from arguing
Yeah.
with,
What is
right?
wrestling with, resisting, denying. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's what I'm hearing is a big growth item for you, and particularly in this case, Gladys, is that it was like you just accepted reality, you surrendered to it. Beautiful. That's awesome. So are you still having your morning meetings where you discuss something that, do you have a particular topic, or is it just open with a kind of a growth focus, or what?
Lately, we haven't been doing that. And I think what's been happening now is because before, I haven't really built the habit of learning and sharing. But now, I think because of Emerge, now we have an outlet where we can share the learning. So we don't necessarily see it as a priority for us to sit down in the morning and have that conversation. But that's the habit that I would like to turn on again. Because I'm now just thinking of it as, okay, let's have our date night where we just focus on each other and talk. As we had this interview, I just remember how that was very powerful for me in the beginning. And why don't we keep doing that?
I think it has a lot to do with the current situation with individuals putting ideas in. Because if you're in a stage where you're not reading much, you're not watching, you're not putting new ideas in, you probably don't have that much going on in your head that you're interested to talk about. So I think it's been kicking up a little bit more lately. It's very organic. It's never been, I don't think it was ever super structured. We never said, okay, let's make sure we watch a video every morning. We did it. Sometimes we did it, didn't do it other times. I think because we are working on Emerge now and we're always talking about different ideas that we brainstorm and we verbally process concepts so often that it not necessarily always in the morning. But yeah, I think we do sometimes. I don't know. We should, I'll tell you what I love as a practice, which I want to make sure we do more often. There's a book called Conscious Loving that we're reading right now, but a couple of different books. We did 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership. And right now, Conscious Loving by Gay and Kathleen Hendricks. And it's both those two books I just mentioned are freaking phenomenal personal development and relationship books. And we have at times maintained a semi-regular morning habit of listening to the Audible version while reading it on Kindle at the same time and just doing 15, 20, 30 minutes of that together and then just pausing it and talking about, wow, that's so relevant to something that just happened, or like processing how it fits into our lives. And I think that's just, so putting ideas in is the thing. It's if you are in a relationship where only one person or neither, if both people are putting ideas in, the odds are you're going to have really good conversations about new ideas.
Yeah, and new ideas, and particularly it sounds like what your focus recently has been on new ideas about relationship, about how to argue more effectively and how to be on the same page more often, and look the kind of things that are relationship building a deeper bond. Yeah, nice, sweet. What advice would you give to others who are looking at personal development as a really significant, if not a primary, it sounds like it was a primary qualifier for you, Eli, but it may not be for everyone. But if it's like a significant aspect of what they want in a relationship, what advice would you give people, both individually and in a relationship?
What to look for or how to get into a relationship?
Yeah. So if you'd be addressing individually for people that are seeking a relationship like that, and then maybe collectively as people that are already in a relationship like that.
I've got a compendium on this. Do you want to say something before I share?
Yeah, I think we just talked about it earlier, like during our lunch, about how when you focus on growing yourself and making yourself better, just going into that journey of really self development, how that alone can affects so many things in your life: relationship, career, family. And that happens for me as soon as I shifted the focus instead of, oh, what job should I get to have a better life, to have enough money to provide for my family, and thinking that's the answer for me to feel happy and fulfilled. And I'm not able to do that. I've tried that so many times and it's not working. But when I decided to, like, how can I make myself better so I feel good, and just first working out, physical thing that helps me so much, to the point where, okay, now I want to learn something. And now that I've been learning, reading books, listening to podcasts, now I have new ideas where if I want to improve my relationship with Eli, then I have new tools that I learn from listening to a book, listening to a podcast, and reading the book that I can apply now. Like, it just, and how my relationship with my kids also got better because now I'm learning on how to better communicate with other people through those books, through those resources. To really focus on improving yourself just gets ripple effect to everything in your life.
And I would say also for a single, it changes the type of person you attract to yourself. Yeah.
Totally.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And we're all familiar with that concept of creating with mind. And it's like it creates a filter that really filters out the people that
Yeah.
don't fall into
Are
that
you becoming the
criteria.
person you want to date?
Exactly. Yeah. That's a good way of stating it.
Yeah. So like I said, I have a compendium on this, but just to keep it short, at brunch today, we were playing around with some new ideas. I was looking at the wheel of life and I was seeing how there's all these different versions of it where you've got all these different aspects of an amazing life. If you wanted to master life, there's different spokes. If you think of it as a wheel, and you've got relationships, or your relationship with yourself, you've got finances, you've got social, relaxing, all these different parts of life. And I won't go too deep into it, but what I was realizing is that I saw some of those wheels had self-development as a pillar or as one of the quadrants. I was like, no, I think I don't like that. I think it's wrong. I think self-development is the hub and it affects everything. And as you go around the wheel, you work on this spoke, you work on this spoke. You can't work at them all at the same time, but you work on them one at a time. If you are focused on making yourself better, which means you understand how you work, how other people work, how the world works better, and you just keep working on your ability to master the nuances of who you are as you show up in that part of your life. Just focus on growing yourself, right? That is the key. And so you can't really master the wheel of life if you're not focused on growing yourself. You can work all day long on how do I get a better job? Like she's saying, but people are tactical. They're like, what do I do? No, forget the doing. Who do you need to be as you show up in each of those different spokes of your life? And if you're dating, looking for a partner, how many people are in that category? And you aren't yet doing that, good luck finding somebody who makes your life better, because you're trying to fill the gap of who you aren't becoming with someone else. And it doesn't work. And I don't think it ever works. You have to make the commitment to becoming the best version of yourself and never stopping that journey. That's the only way to an amazing life, if you ask me. So
if we don't know who we are, it's like we're looking for somebody that can compliment us, that maybe knows who we are, right? That strokes me for who I am, rather than, oh, that's who I am. You're looking for somebody to provide that kind of input.
Yeah.
And so I think what both of you are saying is really get to know who you are by doing this self-development work.
Yeah. And I think that also means
your self-awareness.
I think we both also would recommend, don't be in a hurry to find a partner. Just meet more people, because the more you meet, the more you spend time with people through dating is ideal. You learn a lot about yourself. Like, it reflects so much back on you about, learning about yourself, but you also learn about what you are or are not looking for in someone. You discover nuances of people, patterns. I think that's really important. But if you end up in a relationship where you are wanting to grow and the other person is not, I will tell you one thing: do not try to make that person grow, because it is a recipe for a disaster. If there's any chance for the relationship to work, you just have to accept and appreciate who they are and just do your thing and work on yourself. And maybe they will be so impressed and feel that it's completely safe to say, wow, I'm really not happy with who I am right now. I'm also going to start working on me. Shifting from seeing someone as a project where you need to fix them or try to convince them, and just be their supporter and just love them for exactly who they are. And I've got a long story about that too. But anyway, yeah, it's really tricky. If you're in a relationship already and you decide you want to grow yourself, please, for the love of God, don't try to take your partner along with you. Just let them do their thing, because it won't work. They will just feel obligated and judged.
Yeah. Yeah. I got a real quick little story there. I was in a men's community, big international men's community, and we were always open to inviting new men into the community, which was just a little dribble of men, 1% of the population that are really attracted to real heavy duty self-development, which is what this community was. But we had a booth one time and at a psychic fair or something. And the number of women who approached us and said, my husband needs this, my boyfriend needs this, or whatever. So here's a card, have him call us. That really illustrates what you're saying there. It's if I had just a few pesos for every woman that said, yeah, my husband, my boyfriend needs this, I'm going to give him your card. I'd be broke.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, yeah. This has been an awesome interview, and I feel like I've learned a lot, and I have a sense that the people that are going to be watching this, viewing this video, with an eye towards how do I create a conscious relationship, a relationship that's built on safety and trust and love. I think there's an awful lot to learn from this.
Thank you, Bobby. I want to add in just one little thing that we don't have time to talk about. I think a meditation habit and some of the other spiritual habits that we've both built, not that those habits are as good as they can be all the time, but I think without those habits of paying closer attention to what's going on inside yourself, and you're being more aware of just your emotions, your thoughts, the energy vibration going on in your body, there's just a lot of that. And physical fitness helps a heck of a lot, just to make yourself, because if you feel like crap, good luck being a good partner. Like, you're just not going to work. So we didn't really go into that, but when you talk about being in a conscious relationship, like raising your self-awareness and raising your consciousness, I think it does require some of those practices that we didn't really go into today. But yeah, thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks for adding that on at the back end. I concur. It's like knowing who you are, it comes from meditation and reflection on who is this person in here, and the insight and the intuition that comes from that daily meditation practice is phenomenal. And also physical fitness. It's like really taking care of ourselves. It's about loving ourselves. And we can't love anybody else anymore that we love ourselves. As our self-love grows, so does our capacity to love someone else.
Bobby, just want to say how much I appreciate you. And it's been totally amazing knowing you for these last 5 or 6 months.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And I feel exactly the same. It's a pleasure to know each of you individually and to know you as a couple. So I'm honored and blessed. It's my pleasure to know you all.
Thank you so much, Bob.
Okay.
Thank you so much for listening to this interview on Emerge Stories. We really hope that something here sparked your curiosity, or maybe helped you think about something in your life just from a little bit of a different angle or perspective, maybe opened up your mind to something you might be able to do in your life to take more ownership of your own learning and growth. That's the goal of this show. So please join our community, like and share, and tell other people about these stories if they're meaningful for you. And thanks so much for being here.